Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about first dates and how to make sure yours is a smashing success.
First dates can be nerve-wracking,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
but they're also an exciting opportunity to meet someone new and potentially make a connection.
That's right. So let's dive into some tips to help you make a great first impression.
Okay, sounds good.
Now I'm sure we all know that first impressions matter,
They really do.
but just how important are they? Like, is it all about looks?
Well, looks do play a role, but it's more than just being conventionally attractive. It's about presenting yourself in a way that shows you care about the date.
That makes sense.
Things like wearing well-fitting clothes, a nice pair of shoes.
Oh yeah, gotta have the shoe game on point.
Exactly. And, of course, good grooming.
Okay, so basically it's like showing up, looking like you put in some effort.
Exactly. It signals to the other person that you respect yourself and the occasion.
So no showing up in sweatpants.
Unless you're going on a sweatpants-themed date.
Uh-huh. Fair enough. So we've got the outfit down. What about posture? Does that really matter?
It absolutely does.
Really?
Standing tall and confident projects an air of self-assurance.
Interesting.
It can make you appear more attractive and approachable.
So no slouching.
Right. Good posture shows that you're engaged and interested.
Okay, so we've covered looks and posture now. Let's talk about the setting.
Okay.
Is the classic dinner date still a good idea, or are there better options out there?
Well, dinner dates can be a bit tricky.
How so?
You're kind of stuck across the table, often in a noisy environment with limited opportunity for physical closeness.
Yeah, that's true. It can feel a little too formal sometimes.
Exactly. It can feel more like an interview than a date.
So what are some alternative venues that might be better for a first date?
I'm a big fan of coffee shops or casual lounges.
Oh yeah, those are nice and relaxed.
Exactly. They offer a more intimate setting for conversation.
And you can always grab a drink if you want to.
That's right. Plus, coffee shops and lounges often have comfy booths.
Ooh, yeah, booths are great.
They create a sense of closeness and connection.
So it's all about creating that cozy vibe.
Exactly. You want to feel comfortable and relaxed on a first date.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about setting. Now let's move on to another crucial element. Eye contact.
Ooh, yes. Eye contact is so important.
But is there a right and wrong way to do it?
There definitely is.
Okay, help us out here.
You want to make eye contact, but you don't want to stare them down.
The dreaded death stare.
Exactly. A good rule of thumb is the 80-20 rule, 80% looking, 20% strategically looking away.
80-20. Okay, I can remember that.
It shows you're engaged without making the other person feel uncomfortable.
So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Now, what if you accidentally hold eye contact for a bit too long? Like you get lost in their eyes for a moment.
It happens. Don't worry too much about it.
Okay, good to know.
Just break the gaze naturally and maybe make a joke to lighten the mood.
Like what?
Something like, sorry, I was just admiring your amazing eye color.
Huh. I like it. A little humor could go a long way.
It certainly can.
Okay, let's move on to something that can be a bit of a minefield conversation.
Right.
What are some topics we should avoid early on in a first date?
Well, I'd say it's generally best to steer clear of exes.
Oh yeah, no one wants to hear about your ex on a first date.
Right. And you also want to avoid overly personal stories.
Like what?
You know, like family drama or anything too heavy.
You keep it light and fun.
Exactly. You want to focus on getting to know each other's interests and personalities.
So what are some good conversation starters for a first date?
Instead of asking the typical, what do you do for work type questions.
Yeah, this can be a bit boring.
Right. Try something more open-ended and creative.
Give us some examples.
Sure, something like, if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
Ooh, I like that one.
Or, what's the most embarrassing song you secretly love to sing along to?
That's a good one. Those are great. They're fun and interesting without being too intense.
Exactly.
All right, we've covered looks, posture setting, eye contact, and conversation. What about physical touch?
Ah, yes, the art of the touch.
Is it ever appropriate on a first date, or is that a big no-no?
A well-timed, subtle touch can actually be a great way to build attraction and connection.
Really?
Yes, but it's all about reading the other person's body language and respecting their boundaries.
Okay, so we're talking like a light touch on the hand or arm.
Nothing too forward or aggressive.
So how do you know if you're coming on too strong?
Pay attention to their cues. If they tense up, pull away, or avoid your touch, then back off.
Got it. Clear consent and respecting boundaries are always key.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about another potential pitfall. Oversharing.
Oversharing can definitely be a problem on a first date.
Where's the line between being open and authentic versus dumping too much information?
It's a delicate balance. You want to be genuine and share enough to create a connection, but you don't want to overwhelm them with your life story.
So hold back on the childhood trauma and family drama for now.
Exactly. Save those stories for later dates if things progress.
So first date conversation should be like a teaser trailer, not the whole movie.
Exactly, you want to leave them wanting more.
I like that analogy. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but how do you strike that balance between being friendly and flirtatious?
That's the million-dollar question.
How do you make it clear you're interested romantically without coming on too strong?
Subtlety is key.
Okay, I'm listening.
You can incorporate compliments, but make them genuine and specific.
So instead of saying, "You look nice."
Right, instead of that, try something like, "That color looks amazing on you," or "I love your sense of style."
Ooh, those are good. They show you're paying attention.
Exactly.
And what about humor as a little playful banter? A good way to flirt.
Absolutely. Humor is a fantastic way to create a playful and flirtatious vibe.
But keep it lighthearted and respectful.
Of course, you want to make sure you're both laughing together.
Shared laughter. That's always a good sign. Right. Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about alcohol.
Okay.
It's often a part of dating culture, but how much is too much on a first date?
I always advise moderation.
Oh, okay, so 1 or 2 drinks max.
Exactly. A drink or two can help loosen the nerves and create a more relaxed atmosphere.
But getting drunk is a big no-no.
Right. It can impair your judgment and make you say or do things you'll regret.
Plus, no one wants to be that date who gets sloppy and embarrassing.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of do's and don'ts, but how do you know if the date is actually going well?
That's a great question.
What are some signs that there's genuine interest and connection?
Pay attention to their body language.
Like what kind of body language?
Are they leaning in, making eye contact, mirroring your movements?
Those are all good signs.
Yes, they are. Also, listen to their tone of voice.
Okay.
Is it warm, engaging, and flirtatious?
And if they're asking you lots of questions and seeming genuinely interested in what you have to say?
Absolutely. Reciprocity is key. You want to feel like they're just as invested in the conversation as you are.
That makes sense. Now, let's talk about that often dreaded moment, the end of the date.
All right.
How do you say goodbye without it being awkward? Especially if you're hoping for a second date.
Again, read the situation and trust your instincts.
Okay.
If there's been a clear spark and you both seem comfortable, a hug or a kiss on the cheek might feel natural.
But if it's more of a platonic vibe?
Then a simple handshake or a warm, "It was great meeting you," will suffice.
And most importantly, be genuine.
Yes.
If you had a good time and want to see them again, let them know.
I agree.
But if you're not feeling it, that's okay. Too, honesty is always the best policy.
Absolutely. And remember, even if a first date doesn't lead to a second one, it's still a valuable experience.
That's a great point. Every date is an opportunity for growth, even if it doesn't turn into a love connection.
Exactly. You learn something about yourself and what you're looking for in a partner.
So true. All right, so we've covered the ins and outs of first date etiquette, but the real question is, how do you turn that first encounter into a second date?
Ah, yes. The quest for the second date.
That's where things get really interesting. But before we dive into that,
Yes.
let's take a quick break. We'll be right back to discuss how to score that second date and keep the romance alive.
Sounds good.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So before the break, we were talking all about how to make a killer first impression.
Right. Making sure that first date goes smoothly.
Exactly. And now we're ready to tackle the next challenge. How to turn that first date into a second date.
Because let's face it, that's the ultimate goal, right?
Absolutely. So spill the beans. What's the secret to securing a second date?
Well, first things first, if you had a good time and you're genuinely interested in seeing them again, let them know.
Okay, so no playing hard to get.
No need for games. Honesty and direct communication are key.
I like it straightforward and to the point.
Exactly. A simple text message expressing your interest is all it takes.
Okay, so what should that text message say?
You could say something like, "Hey, I had a really great time last night. I'd love to see you again sometime."
Short and sweet.
Exactly.
Now, what if they don't respond right away? Should we panic?
No need to panic.
Okay, good.
People have lives, and they might not be glued to their phones 24/7.
Sure.
Give them some space to respond. If they're interested, they'll reach out.
Deep breaths, no frantic texting.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say they do respond and they're enthusiastic about a second date.
Excellent.
How do we make sure this second date is even more awesome than the first?
Well, think back to your first date. What were their interests? What did you connect on?
Okay, so use that information to plan a date that builds on those shared interests.
Exactly. It shows that you were paying attention and that you're genuinely interested in getting to know them better.
So if they mention they love craft breweries, Maybe a brewery tour is a good idea.
That's a great idea. Or if they're a bookworm, you could suggest going to a cozy bookstore.
Ooh, yeah, or maybe a poetry reading.
Exactly. The key is to create an experience that's engaging and allows for continued conversation and connection.
I love it. And of course, we want to keep that spark alive. So how do we deepen the connection on a second date?
Second dates are a great opportunity to be a little more vulnerable and share a bit more about yourself.
Okay, so it's okay to open up a little more.
Exactly. You can talk about your passions, your dreams, your fears.
So we're building trust and intimacy.
Right. But remember, it's a two-way street.
Meaning?
Make sure they're reciprocating that vulnerability. You want to feel like they're opening up to you as well.
That's a good point. It's
Yeah.
all about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Now, for the question on everyone's mind, what about physical intimacy on a second date?
Ah, yes, that's a tricky one.
Is it too soon? Is it expected? Help us navigate this.
There's no one-size-fits-all answer. It really depends on the individuals involved and the level of comfort and connection you've established.
Okay, so if the first date ended with a hug, maybe a second date could lead to a goodnight kiss?
Maybe, but only if it feels right for both people.
Of course, consent and respect are always paramount.
Absolutely. Don't feel pressured to move faster than you're comfortable with.
Got it. So read the cues, communicate openly, and trust your instincts.
Exactly.
Awesome. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they navigate the world of second dates?
Remember, dating is a journey, not a destination.
Ooh, I like that.
Enjoy the process. Learn from every experience. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
And most importantly,
Yes.
be yourself.
Your authentic, wonderful self.
Because when you embrace who you are, you attract people who appreciate you for exactly that.
Well said.
So true. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into first and second date mastery.
I hope everyone feels equipped to go forth and conquer the dating world.
Me too. Remember, confidence is key.
Yeah.
Have fun and don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Good advice.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time, happy dating. Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into the second date.
The second date.
Yeah, because getting the second date, that's the goal, right?
It is the goal. The first date went well, and now...
Now we want to make sure we get another one.
Exactly. So how do we make that happen?
Well, should we play it cool or be more direct?
I think honesty and direct communication are always the best policy.
Okay,
If you enjoyed the date and you want to see them again, just tell them.
straight up just say it.
Yep, no need for games.
I like that. So no more waiting 3 days to text.
Exactly.
Send that text when you feel like
Yes, be genuine and let them know you had a good time.
it. Okay, but what if they don't respond right away?
Don't panic.
Oh gosh, I panic so easily.
I know it's easy to overthink things, but just give them some space.
Okay.
They might be busy, you know?
Right, they have lives.
Exactly. And if they're interested, they'll get back to you.
Deep breaths. Deep breaths.
Exactly.
Deep breaths.
Okay, so let's say they do respond and they're excited for a second date.
Awesome.
How do we make sure this one is even better than the first?
Well, think back to your first date. What were their interests? What did you connect on?
Ooh, yeah, good point.
Use that information to plan a date that builds on those shared interests.
So like if they mentioned loving hiking,
Yep, maybe plan a hike.
or if they're really into art,
You could go to a museum or an art gallery together.
I love it. And we should try to be a little more creative than just dinner and a movie, right? Right, exactly. The key is to plan something engaging that allows for good conversation and connection.
So maybe like a cooking class.
That's a great idea. Or a wine tasting.
Ooh, yeah, those are fun, and you get to learn something new.
Exactly, and it gives you something to talk about.
I'm all about trying new things. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got the activity down now. What about deepening that emotional connection?
Second dates are a great opportunity to be a little more vulnerable.
Okay, so we can start to open up a bit more.
Yes, you can share more about your passions, your dreams, maybe even some of your fears.
So it's all about building trust.
Yes, but remember, it's a two-way street.
Right, they need to be opening up too.
Exactly, you want to feel like you're both on the same page.
And if you're not feeling that vibe,
Then it might be a sign that it's not the right match.
makes sense. Okay, now for the big question, physical intimacy.
Ooh, yes.
Is it too soon for a second date? Is it expected? What's the deal?
There's no right or wrong answer here.
Oh gosh, I hate that.
I know, but it really depends on the connection you built and your comfort levels.
Okay, so if the first date ended with a hug,
Then maybe a second date could end with a kiss.
but only if it feels right.
Exactly. Consent and respect are always the most important things.
Always. Always. Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything.
I think so.
Any final words of advice for our listeners?
Just remember to relax and be yourself.
Yes. Be authentic.
Dating should be fun, so don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Great advice. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom.
You're welcome.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into first and second dates.
I hope everyone feels more confident and prepared to navigate the dating world.
Me too. Remember, be yourself, have fun, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
And good luck out there, everyone.
We're rooting for you.